Yeah, we're starting.
It's time to start?
We're starting a little early.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're starting a little early.
Okay.
For one simple reason.
Yeah.
I'd like to start with your brothel story right now.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Because just like literally a minute ago, I reminded Ted that we're going to have Angel Tracy on from Miss Laura's Brothel Museum in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And Ted immediately said to Jackie and I have a brothel story.
I have a brothel story.
And then I said, holy shit, you've been in a brothel. And he said no. So I can't imagine what your brothel story is, but please tell us your brothel story right now.
Yeah, so the closest I've been to a brothel is I did have a T-shirt that I actually wore for years till it disintegrated called the Mustang Ranch. And anyone, actually the Mustang Ranch is the most famous brothel in the United States. It's in Clark County, Nevada, and it's the only legal brothel as far as I know. Obviously, it's kind of way out, in the sticks. It's not like in Las Vegas proper. But apparently Joachim Forte, who's the owner of the Mustang Ranch, became the largest taxpayer in U.S. history because he was paying so much tax on it. So what happened was, the backstory how that became legal was, I guess he bribed the local alderman to change the zoning or something. But yeah, there was something obviously political where he was allowed to have a legal brothel. And obviously the women who work there, the employees, they actually get checked by the state. They get STD testing, all that good stuff. So it's actually regulated by the state.
And so this still exists?
I believe so.
Wow.
Okay, so I looked it up. There are 18 legal brothels in Nevada right now.
Okay.
Yeah, in 6 counties.
Okay.
No, in just 6 of the state. Yeah, 6 counties of Nevada. There are 18. There were 21. Yeah, and 3 of them closed down.
And they almost make as much money as the Girl Scouts selling cookies, right? Because that's an $8 billion a year industry.
And your brothel story is you have a T-shirt.
I had a T-shirt.
Okay.
He had a T-shirt.
For anyone who's thought we were going to start with the greatest brothel story you've ever heard, Ted's brothel story is he's got a T-shirt.
I thought for sure it was going to be something to do with when you were in the military.
No, the funny thing was, there was something on cable for a hot minute where they were showing like the inside workings of a brothel.
I think HBO had
they had like people,
the
customers. They were interviewing the employees there. How they interact with the Johns, and it was all, I don't know if it was the Mustang Ranch per se, but yeah, I'm sure there's more than one legal brothel.
I think it was the Bunny Ranch or something.
Bunny Ranch, yeah.
And
like obviously, just it was a business. Just like a strip bar is a business. It just happens to be a brothel. So it's all out there.
I mean, an ice cream stand is a business.
Yeah.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah. Business.
I mean, everything's a business. Yeah. But yeah, it was an interesting show. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I all that reality stuff, I take it with a grain of salt because I know there's not reality in that reality show, right?
Yeah,
there's
obviously
always
they
a
have
little
to
bit
play it up. Yeah,
like The Real World was one of the first ones right back then, and it was pretty scripted. They came out to say afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, right. you know, there's going to be a good guy, there's going to be a bad guy, there's going to be, a good girl, a bad girl. There's going to be
bad relationships.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some anger, some stuff's going to be thrown. If it's from New Jersey, it'll just be all that and then just scummier. Yeah, just really, really, really scummy.
So the funny thing was, the last time I think I watched TV, I can't remember the last time I actually watched a TV show, but it was one of those SVU shows or crime, one of those crime shows.
Law and Order.
Law and Order. Like of course, everybody's ridiculously good looking because the cast members, because nobody cares about the trials and tribulations of ugly people. We only care about what good looking people are doing. But anyway, on a side note, so one of the episodes.
That's why we are audio owned.
So one of the episodes was a man, like a middle-aged businessman. He's bald. He's kind of got a pot belly. He goes on some convention, whether it's Vegas or somewhere else, and I guess he gets entrapped into getting. Like, the woman, she's an undercover cop, but she pretends to be a prostitute and she propositions him. And of course, he's a lonely guy. So, she preyed on his weaknesses and his vulnerabilities. So, of course, he said, yeah. And then as soon as he said, yeah, they arrested him and they basically gave him the perp walk and they treated him. I mean, he was just, you almost felt bad for the guy. So so his defense attorney goes to trial and they make the woman, who's obviously a very attractive woman, the police officer, dressed in the evening gown in court that she was wearing that night at the bar, to show that this is an entrapment situation. And obviously, she's like very stunning looking.
So if a woman dresses too attractively, she's entrapped.
Well, I think
she should uglify herself.
Yeah.
That just seems so wrong.
No, but the defense attorney made her dress that way instead of dressing in her police uniform. She had to dress the way she dressed that night, so that gave an impression to the jury.
I get it.
Yeah.
So he said that it's impossible to not want to sleep with that girl because she's so attractive. Like,
Yeah.
like you just don't like.
She
like you just
should
turn
not
off
be
your
allowed.
brain and
Right.
just think.
Well,
with your,
I think
okay.
the preposition was like he
what a
was
ridiculous concept, but okay.
Well,
cool.
the whole defense was like he wasn't looking for it. She approached him. She solicited him. Yeah, he went for it. But obviously, he's a think about it. He's a middle aged. He's a lonely man. He probably hasn't had female companionship in years, if not ever. And then this stunningly
backstory?
I mean, this is a TV show.
Yeah, this is a TV show. But the point is, I could see the defense. I could see where I would vote not guilty. Because like she did take advantage of this guy. Yeah, okay, she technically was right. Yeah, he wanted to pay for sex, which is woo. And by the way, I left the toilet sit up and left the cap off the toothpaste too. Why don't you convict me of that too? I mean, can we just stop with the silliness with that? It's the oldest profession in the world. Can we just stop with it already?
Listen. There's quite a few countries that
Yeah,
it's legal.
I'm not talking about minors. I'm talking about consenting adults.
Like in a
I
brothel.
don't care what your job is. You can be a minor. You can be
I'm not
work
talking
in a coal mine.
Yeah, I'm not
you can be
talking about
anything.
sex tourism
you're
in
talking about
Southeast
kid-
Asia. I'm not
no.
talking about sex tourism in Southeast Asia. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about consenting adults. Can we just
Okay.
just stop with the
Here,
silliness?
you know what I want to. You know what I want to talk about. That is, I mean, kind of related. You guys remember we talked about the Atlanta Hawks having Magic City night?
Vaguely.
It's funny that my sister,
Yeah.
who listens to the show, knows more than you, who's on the show. Okay, so Atlanta Hawks, we're going to celebrate Magic City night on March 16th. I watched the game. Unfortunately, is a strip club, a very prominent strip club with African Americans. It's like huge. It's like very famous.
Yeah.
Shaq, like I told you, Shaq is on their website like at the beginning doing his spiel. It's pretty cool. Couple of things. The NBA commissioner, no, nix. So a couple days before, he said, nope, we're not doing it. Now, a lot of people still showed up in their stuff, their Magic City stuff, but they weren't able to do anything. And then I found some things out, which I thought was kind of interesting, right? Because it seems, I'm going to say, a strip club thing seems kind of sexist. You know who owns the Atlanta Hawks?
I don't.
Actress Jamie Gertz.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was in Twister,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost Boys. Yeah.
She's the owner. She's the majority
her
owner.
Her and her husband are the owners.
I never would have guessed that.
And in case you don't know this, her husband is kind of an investment guy, but she made quite a bit of money. Yeah. The two of them are literally billionaires.
wow.
Sure.
Yes,
Good for them.
billionaires. And here's the crazy part: she produced a docuseries on Magic City for Stars. So if you want to know about Magic City and kind of like the history of it, and it does seem really cool. And if you're a food person, I guess the best lemon pepper wings on the planet.
Those are my favorite wings.
Are they really?
Yes.
Oh, that is.
I love a dry rub wing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually, those
best.
wings you had the other day were really good. I probably ate more
ones
than
I
I
made?
should have.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm
those were
gonna
really
admit
good.
I did like the dry rub more than the one with the sauce on it. I'm a fan of dry rub.
Me too.
yeah. So I made, kind of with our chicken wing guy, Jack and I made a blueberry chipotle.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we put the blueberry chipotle on it, and then I made a sauce out of it. Unreal. Oh, my God. Absolutely unreal. And then Jack made a regular chipotle that was out of its mind. But, so when for the Magic City thing, I guess Gertz, she goes to the game, so she went to that game at least. She showed up on the sideline, decked out in Magic City
Magic
stuff.
City. Good for
right?
her.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I get it, strip club, right? And there's kind of a negative connotation to it, but it's wildly interesting, and it's not as they got like a touch and go policy. If you touch one of the girls, you are gone. They will drag you out.
Okay.
Like, they will drag you out.
Yeah, so it's not the kind where you're going into the back room with the.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I mean, we say it. You don't know it. But,
Okay.
But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. And they served, for that night, they served lemon pepper wings.
So it's a high end,
I love that.
classier type of place.
Dude, it is like a,
where the clientele are,
clientele got
like
money.
millionaires.
So,
Probably all
So
basketball
when
players,
so when
athletes.
so when the players come in,
musicians.
so this is what you're not supposed to say, I guess. When the players come in from out of town, football, baseball, and basketball, that's one of the places they go.
Sure.
Yeah, that is like a
Yeah.
huge place.
Well, there's
where
stories
they
for
hang
years
out.
about NBA players going to strip bars before. Like Patrick Ewing was at a strip club somewhere right before like an NBA playoff game. Paul George, who was obviously a big star with the Indiana Pacers, knocked up his stripper, unfortunately. So he's
Well, that was not a touch and go
that was a touch.
situation.
That was not a touch.
That was a
and go.
touch and feel. That was a catch. That was a catch and release.
Didn't who's the guy? Brian Urlacher. Didn't he bang? He
yeah,
knock up a stripper?
he fell into that trap too.
Yeah, and who's
fell into that trap,
the
too.
basketball player? They were charting him. The guy with the beard.
James Harden.
Yeah, James Harden. They were this is awesome. When he was on the road, they would bet because he liked to visit strip clubs.
Mm-hmm.
They would bet against him on the road because I guess when he would go on a road trip, he would spend the night before the game at the strip club, generally waking up late or not going to bed,
Yeah.
and then
Well, that
play.
doesn't seem like a good idea when you're a professional.
Well, but
athlete.
he would play on road trips with really high-end strip clubs like Atlanta. You would bet against him because he would play like absolute horseshit
Yeah.
because he was so
Yeah.
messed
Exactly.
sense.
That
Yeah, makes
seems
sense.
like something he shouldn't do.
What's that famous Motley Crue song? Girls, Girls, Girls. They talk about the dollhouse in Fort Lauderdale. I'm assuming that's a strip club they're referring to.
I don't.
You've heard, you know that song.
Yeah,
Girls,
I-
Girls, Girls.
Yeah, but I don't pay attention to any of the lyrics
Oh.
because most lyrics in a song are pretty stupid. Like they're just stuff that rhymes. It doesn't really necessarily make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing back in the day, like I know, like Styx did a whole album where it was like they had a theme and everything was a theme. But now I just think that I don't think there's a lot put into it. It's just like what rhymes best with ass.
Well, Vince Neil
Right?
actually made a good career as a lead singer for a guy who really couldn't. He just didn't really. He was like an okay singer, right? But he just, he's Motley Crue's lead singer, so
I mean, Motley Crue is pretty.
They're
good,
pretty
man.
good, yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah,
If,
those are
if,
talented
if we're on the
musicians.
golf course and I
Yeah.
put on my hair band playlist,
yeah.
I mean, Motley
I love
Crue.
Motley
I
Crue,
mean, there's a lot of Motley Crue songs.
I just don't want Motley Crue watching my 5-year-old at a pool party. We know what happens in that
Oh.
case. Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that story
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Another update. Remember the Utah woman that poisoned her husband and then wrote a book about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So finally,
Yes.
just last week, she was actually convicted. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a couple of things. She was convicted of aggravated murder. And I'm guessing it's aggravated because her husband, if he would have lived, would have been aggravated. He died. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know how it works. Okay. Now, I didn't know this. She was also convicted of some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She had tried a couple weeks earlier, or a couple months earlier, to kill him before with a fentanyl-laced sandwich. But I
Yes.
guess he only blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough old bird.
Yeah. And then so she was $4 million in debt. Her husband, his
$4 million.
Yeah, she was $4 million.
She was trying to flip a man. She was trying to flip a mansion in Park City,
Yeah.
Utah.
For real?
Yeah, so
Oh
I
my-
guess she
that's a
probably
lot of money.
over-leveraged herself.
She had a lot going on. She had the kids. She had a boyfriend on the side.
I got a side note. So when you're done with the story, I got
Okay.
I got something to bring
and
up.
so she was about $4 million in debt. She was her husband's net worth with everything he owned and his life insurance was about $4 million. So she would have been scratched.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
here's what I'm getting away with. Here's what I'm coming away with this. If you want to be happily married, be poor. Then you don't have to worry about anybody trying to kill you.
So I'm glad you brought up that story. So obviously the Wicked Witch of the West got her comeuppance. Good for her. So here's the funny thing. So they actually brought the boyfriend on the stand because I guess they have all the text messages where she's like, I wish you were my husband. We're going to be married one day. Blah blah blah. And of course they just read that like a laundry list. They put that on the projector. It was beautiful. So they bring this guy up on the stand, and guess what? The dude looks like the brother of the husband. I mean, he's like a little. You know what he is? He's like a little bit. He's like the 2.0 version of husband. He's like a little bit younger, a little bit better looking, but he's like the same guy. He's like the same beard, the same hair, the same facial structure. So it's almost like she's just banging the dude's brother. So she obviously has a type,
She
is
has
what
a
I'm saying.
type,
She has
yeah.
a type, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in her case, the store is closed for business for the foreseeable future. She gone.
Was this guy rich? Because the other guy was rich.
Well, I think this guy, he was like a handyman worker, but she was like lavishing him with gifts. She bought the guy a truck, and obviously she's
That helped with the debt.
Yeah, she's obviously lavishing. She's obviously lavishing. She love bombing this guy, and this guy, obviously he's a typical dude. He fell for it, hook, line, and sinker until he found out she was a Black Widow, and then maybe he had a change of heart. So,
It didn't sound like it.
yeah.
I mean, well, I guess if he's
Well, here's-
testifying against her.
Here's the funny thing. to this day, that Susan Smith, which is that infamous case from like the early '90s, where that woman drowned her 2 kids.
You say that she's got boyfriends in prison.
She's got more boyfriends than some random dude in living free with like 50 dating apps. This woman gets like love letters from guys all day, and they said I wouldn't mind you being the parents of stepmother to my kids, and she's a murderer.
It's all those
out.
people in prison. They get all that crazy
Yeah.
fandom.
Fan mail.
Yeah.
Night Stalker, Ted Bundy,
They get
John
married
Wayne Gacy.
while they're in
Yeah.
prison.
They get more. Lyle Menendez, Eric Menendez. Rosie O'Donnell loves Lyle Menendez. She said he's the only straight white male she trusts. So that all tells her I need to know about Rosie O'Donnell's judgment. She said that.
I mean, just because he's the one she trusts the most doesn't mean she trusts him at all. She might trust him 1%, and then all the rest of us, she trusts 0%. Yeah.
Well, the bar's pretty low.
Yeah. I honestly,
Negative
I
percent.
honestly have no idea. Oh, and a quick update on the social media, the woman addicted to social media.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually 2 things to this. In New Mexico, Meta was put on trial. I didn't even realize there was another thing going on.
I just heard that this week.
Yeah. So Meta was found guilty. They owe $375 million, which I guess is like probably a week's.
No, it's nothing.
Yeah, a week's pay. I don't know who they're paying to, but they said that they manipulated kids into being on social media.
Is it going to be like a class action thing, or like
It's already done.
Oh,
They
okay.
already found guilty.
They found it, and whoever
I don't know who it was brought against, because I'm literally just looking up, because it's daily. The update thing is daily on the woman addicted. The jury is deadlocked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said they can't come up with. They've been at it a week now, trying to deliberate, and they're deadlocked. They can't figure out.
Yeah, because she's making personal choices. So she's taking her personal choices and blaming it on external forces. And there might be some there, but at the end of the day, she has free will to make her own personal choices, and choices have consequences.
I will
and she
say
made
this.
Those choices.
I will say this, and I said the same thing about these gambling. About gambling,
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And then I saw, I think it was John Oliver. I can't remember if it was John Oliver or another like HBO or one of those documentary things about once you're into the site, they just bomb you. And you can always just, block it or whatever. But I guess it is once you're in and they have your email and your phone number and all that kind of stuff, they just relentlessly bomb you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure their marketing campaign is spectacular.
And then it
But
builds up.
I think
and
it's more
free.
than that, Ted. So Shayna for Christmas gave me a pass to Masterclass for the year, and so I did one on dopamine reset, and it was by an addiction specialist, but she was really talking about social media, gaming, gambling, that kind of thing, where how addicted they are, and it's like what it does to them physiologically, and how the anticipation of the placing the bet or going into the gaming or what they might find on their social media feed. And I always kind of felt like willpower or whatever, but it's really, really prevalent.
I agree 100% with you. But I just think some people, like anything in life, some people are more susceptible to have addictive personalities versus someone who isn't.
100%.
So
Yes.
I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but so it actually preys upon the vulnerabilities of people who are already susceptible, and if they happen to find each other, through happenstance. Didn't we talk about a guy who I read something where a guy, he never gambled in his life, and then he just made some side bet on one thing, and once he made that first bet, and this is like in his 40s, he lost everything. His marriage, just mortgaged the house. Life. Yeah, but prior to that, had no concept of gambling, but once he got a taste, that obviously triggered something deep in his reptilian brain, But I agree with you. Some people
She
are
was
more
saying
susceptible.
it's this dopamine.
So what's Masterclass?
Yeah,
it's classes that you can take that are on pretty much any topic that you want to take it on, and it's the people who are at the top of their game in that area, and you can do ones that are super in depth that last 20 hours. I'm doing one on eggs right now, on how to cook eggs. So I've seen how to do scrambled eggs, omelets. These ones are each 10 minutes long, little segments. I'm about to be on
20 hours worth of that. How many different ways?
No, this one isn't 20 hours.
Oh.
No, some of them are very short. Some of them are very in depth. It depends on what you want to do. But
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah,
but
you've probably heard the term, like people say master class at that or whatever.
Yeah. But coming from the professionals.
I just assumed it was somebody in the Trump organization talking about them and then ignoring everybody else.
Oh, no, not at all. It's really cool, and it's all different. It can be health and wellness. It can be cooking, exercise, like all different things.
So in summary, it's like say a 5-star Michelin chef is teaching the audience how to cook eggs perfectly the best, most efficient. Okay, that
Right.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That seems like it's worth it.
That's kind of cool. All right, let's get this thing rolling. This is the Real Three Idiots podcast. Hello, Albania. I believe this is our first listeners in Albania. If you didn't know, Albania, and I looked it up, has Riviera beaches, religious harmony, and the best part, no McDonald's.
Are they Eastern Europe, or are they like are they like near Greece? I forgot.
Ted, I am so glad you asked. Yes, I had to look it up because I had no idea.
No,
where
do you
Albania
remember
is.
it from
It
Cheers?
borders on the
It
Adriatic.
borders on the Adriatic.
It borders on the what?
It borders on the Adriatic. It was from Cheers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They sang
Yeah,
about Albania.
Woody is learning something. Yeah, Woody is learning. Okay, so
only
it
thing I know about
is. It is across the Adriatic Sea from Italy. So if you know where Italy is, technically it'd be if you're looking at a map, it's to the east or to the right of Italy.
Okay.
Across the Adriatic Sea, that's
see.
where it is. And it's it's almost all coastline. It's pretty nice.
Okay.
It's surrounded by places I wouldn't necessarily want to go, but the rest of it looks pretty cool.
Okay, cool.
And today in history, in 1958, Elvis joined the army.
Was he drafted, or did he just join the army?
You know what? I think he was going to get drafted, so he just joined.
Yeah.
He was 23 years old, and I'm going to add just a little bit of gross to this. He also met and started dating his future wife, Priscilla Bilo, who ended up being Priscilla Presley. She was 14 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So, I guess if you extrapolate it, Elvis Presley could have been president. Yeah, that was a pedophile joke. I did it.
Yes.
And it didn't bother me at all.
Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin, and that kind of ended his career back in the 50s, back in the day, if you recall.
Yes, and you want a little cousin story? In Florida, just Friday? It was Friday or Monday. They had a vote, and the vote was they finally wanted to be. There's still a few states that do this. They want to be one of the states that outlawed, one of the many states that outlawed marrying your cousin. And unfortunately, that vote did not get enough. That bill did not get enough votes. So if you are in Florida right now and you know you want to, you can marry your first cousin. And
Wow.
I know there's a lot of people in Florida right now who are like, woohoo!
Oh,
Florida. Once a week, there's a story about somebody out of Florida, like just some random person who commits some weird crime, and it's always out of Florida. So just recently, some woman like in her 30s who looks completely normal. I guess she peed on something and got in a bunch of trouble. I didn't even read the story because I'm like, I don't even want to read it, but she peed on something she wasn't supposed to pee on.
Like a statue or
and
something?
And she's got that deer in the headlights look in her face and her mugshot. It's like, yep, it's
Yeah.
Florida. What do you
Yep.
expect?
Florida.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's still, excuse me, I'm sorry. There's still 18 states where you can marry your first cousin, and they're not all banjo playing states.
I think in France it's legal to marry a dead person.
Why would
Seriously.
one do that?
Just for the insurance payout? I don't know.
It's already happened, Teddy. It's too late. It is definitely too late. Yeah, I'm just saying it's definitely too late. All right, we have to get to your tip.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to get to that.
There's a guest looming on the horizon.
There is. All right, so I'm sorry. I was messing with my phone. Oh boy, I don't have it pulled up. Okay, here we go. Wait, hold on. I have to ask.
I have the tip.
No, I have it. But I have to ask. Are you prepared?
I just read it now.
You're a liar. I know you read it before. Yeah. One of these days. Okay. Let me do your sponsor, and then we'll get you going. Ted's Tips is brought to you by Lester's Animal Chips. Lester's is happy to announce their newest addition to the animal chip lineup, Red Panda and Koala. Like all of the animal chips at Lester's Animal Chips, they use only the freshest Red Panda and Koala to make their chips. And your Lester's Animal Chips guarantee: no hair, no paws, and no tongue. Don't forget, if you're looking for a special Easter treat, Lester's is your go-to for bunny chips. For the best animal chips with the biggest selection, go to lester'sanimalchips.com.
Yum.
Yeah. I mean, if it
As long as there's no hair.
no hair,
Right.
no paws, no tongue. And
No
that's
tongue.
their guarantee.
Right.
All right, Teddy, we need you to tip Marley.
I like
Okay.
that name. Is that Irish?
I don't know. I'll ask her.
Okay.
I
Kind of sounds Irish.
Marley sounds Irish?
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, don't quote me on that.
Good enough. It's too late. You already said it. All right, Ted. Ted, I need some advice. My boyfriend very sweetly bought me an expensive dress for a wedding we are attending in May. This is the good part. It's hideous. I mean, truly hideous.
Did she send a picture?
Oh, no. Damn it. Oh, okay. From here on out, if you say something is good, bad, or indifferent, we need pictures.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. He was so excited. I even tried it on for him, and he said I looked beautiful. Aw, he has no taste. I showed some
self-fulfilling prophecy. Because of course she looks beautiful. He picked it.
Yeah. I showed some friends, and they agreed it was awful. I want to exchange it for a dress that isn't horrible. There's a lot of words in here that are negative. I can't say it doesn't fit, and I absolutely can't say it's terrible. How do I exchange this dress without him getting upset? Don't worry, he doesn't listen. This is, you know what? And this is the part that really just pisses me off. You know, I wish he didn't include this. Don't worry, he doesn't listen. He thinks you and Mark don't treat Ted nicely enough. Aww. He thinks Ted should kick your asses.
Aww.
She's coming to my emotional rescue. And by the way, there is no more Mark.
Yeah. Well, this was sent a while. This was sent a while back. She did get ahead of. She got ahead of herself. So yeah,
it's okay.
Marley, 31, Montgomery, Alabama. And by the way, they could be first cousins because in Alabama you can marry your first cousin.
Good shrimp.
All right.
Good shrimp and grits in Alabama. Good shrimp and grits in Top Golf. So.
All right, Teddy.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Help.
Okay, so actually, Marley, I'm going to give you the tip within the tip you didn't even ask me for. So here's the real tip, and then I'll get to the dress tip. So the real tip is, it is a little disconcerting that your boyfriend, who is not your fiancé, if he's your boyfriend, would take it upon himself to unilaterally buy you a dress, which is a very personal thing. It's not like he's buying you like an engagement ring. So I mean, that could portend potential issues issues. You might want to keep your eye on that just for its future.
So you're saying it's a problem.
It's a controlling
thing.
Control issue, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, dress is a very personal. Number one, I could see like here's $200. Go get yourself what you think, what you like. But he took it upon himself to actually pick your dress.
Let's go on a shopping trip.
Yeah, especially for a wedding where you're going to be seen by multiple people. You know, without your input or your knowledge or your consent. So I'm just saying that could be
at least it fit.
That could be an ominous sign.
I mean,
True.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So
OJ's glove fit too. How'd that turn out?
I don't know. It didn't seem like it fit for me, but okay. But I mean, I don't think I could pick a dress out that would fit. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he's paying enough attention.
Well, he knows what size she is.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean,
because it's been in her underwear drawer. Oh boy.
So so you're finding this as a negative.
I don't think looking at a woman's underwear drawer would tell you what size dress she wears.
And that is why
he might have reverse engineered it for all I know. This guy could be a genius.
Yeah, and that is why Ted has never bought anyone a dress because he goes by underwear size.
Okay.
What size dress? Small.
Anyway, that's the tip within the tip. So I'd keep an eye on him. You know, I don't know how long you've been dating this guy.
Keep an eye on him.
I'm sure he's a quote unquote nice guy. So yeah, with a good personality.
Keep an eye on him.
Anyway,
Marley, you watch this son of a bitch because who knows what he's going to do. First he'll buy you a dress. Next thing he'll buy you shoes. Oh man,
maybe just nice and a little naive.
What a jerk!
Just see what he does at just see what he does at the open bar at the wedding. How he gets after that. That'll be another mile. That'll be another mile marker for you to judge him. So anyway, here's the actual tip. Okay, obviously you're going to dump the dress. Here's what you're going to tell him. You're going to say, baby, the dress was great. Unfortunately, I was allergic to the fabric. It was giving me this terrible rash on my lower back.
No. You know what? The under the arm is a really big part for
Under the
women.
arm, yep.
If it's got any kind of sequencey stuff on there, you can just be like, I tried it on for a few hours. It rubbed me raw. That is brilliant.
It.
And thank you so much. And then I had, unfortunately, against my express wishes, I had to get something else. Baby, I hope you like it. But here's what we're going to do after the wedding. I'm going to take you to your favorite surf and turf or shrimp and grits place, and we're going to go to Topgolf on me. And, just lavish him with praise because men are like puppy dogs. Just pay him any attention. He'll forget all about it. Okay. Tip over.
Wow.
Ted, that was, I have to admit, the two of you, that was absolute genius.
Thank you for that.
Good.
Thank you for that.
That was absolute. Okay, now
I didn't think about the armpit
So
part.
this is what I'm always interested in. I'm always interested in our guests' take on this, right? Angel, would you believe that this is a tip that would work You think a guy would buy this? What do you think? Oh, she's still on mute. All right, that's all right. We'll see we'll see what she thinks here. But yeah, I tell you, I think it's absolute genius. I really do.
Well, Jackie was nice enough to articulate the specifics of the rash or
Yes.
the allergic reaction. I was just spitballing.
Okay.
So you'll randomly see women at like functions and their arms are out like this. It's because
Oh, I see.
they're like
I wasn't even
like
smart.
a chicken wing. They're like kind of rubbed raw.
I wasn't even smart enough to pay attention to that, so that's a little nuance I wasn't even aware of. So yeah, but thank you for that. I'm gonna
Just really in tune.
stare uncomfortably at them, not because in a sexual way, but I'm going to see if they're allergic to their clothes.
Yeah, it'll be partly sexual. All right, Angel, do you believe that was that good advice by the two of them?
I mean, I think it's good advice if you don't like just telling them that things are terrible. I'm a big fan of the truth. Like, sorry, this dress is actually pretty terrible. I will never wear this.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Also, don't order my food when we go to the restaurant.
But that would crush a man,
Ted's,
that would crush a man's
controlling
spirit. That would
situation.
crush a man's spirit. So we have to have a
That
little,
would
a
okay.
little
So
nuance.
wow, you guys are really in the negative thing. I think it's nice that he would even try. Honestly, I mean, that just seems like a nice
It's like
thing.
a little engine that could.
Okay.
And-
All right. You know what? You know what? I've now learned. I guess I don't really want people buying me clothes either. But I did. I mean, they did when.
Well, I think buying new clothes is fine. It is tricky when it's for a specific. Look, I got you this dress for that wedding. Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
that's.
I guess it could be jerky.
It's
I
like
don't-
getting me a Judas Priest Seventh Son of a Seventh Son T-shirt for Christmas or so. That's different,
Oh, so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Slayer Hell
How do you
Awaits.
even?
Yeah, so-
How do you
That's
even
different,
know any of those? You don't listen to any music at all. How the heck do you? Whatever. All right. Our guest this week is Angel Tracy. She is the manager of Miss Laura's Brothel Museum in Fort Smith, Arkansas. You can Google it. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm going to make this guarantee. I bet when this interview is over, you are going to say, wow. Angel, thank you for being on the show.
Welcome.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, so this question seems easy, okay, and this is why we'll start with it. Why have a museum that seems like something that is a low point in the town's history, a brothel?
Yeah, so, here's the most interesting fact of all, is that there's actually not a community in this entire nation that does not have sex work in its origin story. It's physically impossible. Every community in this nation was built by the men who dared to go there first and the women who followed them. Every single one.
Oh man, see now I got to find out more about Chicago. I'm sure there's probably brothels right now. I mean,
Oh, you guys actually had one of the most prolific brothels actually from 1900 to 1911. We talk about them often, but Minna and Ada Everly actually ran the Everly Club. And they had a gold leaf piano and solid gold spittoons in their brothel. They had a wait list that was 1,000,000 years long.
Wow.
And it was, I actually looked up the address because I wanted to just because I know you guys are there, but it was at 2131 and 2133 South Dearborn Street. And it looks like there's something called Hilliard Homes there now, it looks like. But Minna and Ada actually, they had like $1 million in 1911, which is the equivalent of about $34 million today when they retired.
Yeah.
So it just kind of gives you the idea of how much money, they were bringing in.
holy,
It's pretty prolific.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always thought to myself that if I would have gone into sex work younger, I mean, I'm 59 now, I'd probably be a billionaire.
If only.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
So it's funny. We were joking. So the area we live in near Chicago, the suburb of Chicago, there's a nice suburb called Park Ridge, and there's a lot of bars and restaurants, for more affluent, patrons who live in the area, well-to-do people. So they just shut down this microbrewery and this barbecue place that, we've actually been there. And, the guy, he was like cooking the barbecue on a wood stove, very, very meticulous, took a long time. And obviously nobody cared enough. So they had to shut it down because they probably weren't making money. Now, my joke was that now if you reopen that place as a a Korean woman's mud wrestling place. I guarantee you the line would be out the door, around the block,
I had no
down
idea
the
where he was
street.
going.
It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. And I'm not even a business major, and I can figure this out. Okay, so
Wow.
we know what sells.
Angel,
we know what sells.
Angel, if you were wondering where Ted was going with that,
I just went there.
I was wondering the same exact thing. I honestly thought he was going to say brothel, but okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when you guys open this thing, and I know it's you said it's everywhere. There had to be people who were like, "Hey, man, we don't think this is a good idea. You're kind of celebrating this thing that is kind of negative." I mean, how did you kind of counteract that?
Yeah, so what's interesting about our museum is that until October of 2024, it actually served as our city's visitor center. So, yeah, welcome to Fort Smith. Come to the brothel. There used to be all kinds of jokes abound, right, about still serving the public, air quotes, but there's lots of negative things to be said about him. I mean, who really wants to talk about, the history of sex work? And the reality is there aren't very many of us that do it or do it well, right? We're one of 9 in the entire country that are housed in former brothels. There's lots of museums out there, but, as far as Fort Smith is concerned, it's a fairly small community in the grand scheme of things. And, again, there's not a community that doesn't have sex work in its origin story. And so for us, we had a regulated red light district, which a lot of communities did, especially at that turn of the century. It was really kind of their way to keep things safe. But it was such a huge part of our city's story that I don't think our locals really wanted to see that go away. In fact, we actually kind of hit a funding snafu, if you will, this year. And our timeline of getting a nonprofit created has actually kind of crept up a little sooner than we had initially anticipated. And our community really came, to the boxing ring, as it were, to really fight for us pretty hardcore. So our community definitely feels that it's valuable. And, much like you guys having visitors from all over the place, our most recent one just today was actually from the UK. So people come to us from all over the world because there's not very many of them. And they struggle, from overseas, especially in places like Germany and Amsterdam and places like that, where like, how can you criminalize sex work? How can you do that? Why? It's fascinating to them.
All right. And so that's one of those things. So we were talking, so I think we talked a week or two ago, kind of planning on everything. And I was thinking that this is kind of like a negative kind of thing. And you kind of blew my mind with kind of, no, I mean, the kind of the positivity of, how women were able to kind of take control of their lives. So,
yeah.
so clue us in a little bit on that. Cause that really blew my mind.
Yeah. So, this is kind of one of those, rare instances where just a little bit of backstory, women in general during this time, and I'm always going to be talking about historical sex work, right? If I will tell you if I'm talking about current day, but, the average woman could earn about $138, $139 a year, which is about $5,000 today, right? It's not a lot of money even today. And so if you had been married before, or if you had had sex before marriage, or you had children, or whatever the case might have been, your prospects of getting married and being taken care of, because that's what women were good for, right? We were to be in the kitchen and to have children. Your prospects of getting married, or even having any semblance of a decent job, because those didn't exist for women, really is probably not going to happen. And so women, kind of getting together, right? They build these houses, brothels, and there's all different kinds of brothels, right? Don't get me wrong. There are cribs, which are, the really seedy underbelly of this profession, and probably what we all think of when we think of brothels, or that Wild West saloon situation where you still have a man running things, right? Mm-hmm. But when women get together and they start building these houses, and they start taking care of their women, and they educate them, and they make sure they have a safe place to work, this is really what women taking their power back looks like. And not to say that that's always the case, right? There's always an exception to the rule, but at the end of the day, there are not very many options for women. And in a time where to get your $139 a year, you're probably working 14 to 16 hours a day. You're probably being sexually assaulted or harassed at your job anyways, or maybe you're an indentured servant, you know, to another family where you're taking care of their kids in addition to your kids. And, you know, as a sex worker, even at the turn of the century, you could earn $139 at high-end brothels maybe in a night or two. And, you know, mid-level brothels probably closer to a month or two. So you're still earning an annual salary in record time, doing a job that you carry the tools with you all the time.
I like that. I like that concept. And so, and no,
so they formed together to do this. They decided, like, each of these brothels was open just by women.
So they got together and did this?
Yeah. So, madams. So in the big bad world, madams are not much different than pimps, right? They're just female. And so we have this idea. We look back at history with our modern lenses, and so this is kind of hard. But we think of women being different in the way that they care for other women, which is not necessarily an untrue statement. There's always going to be bad people out there. Like, there was a woman named Ah Toy who was in San Francisco, and, you know, she actually trafficked young girls in crates across the ocean to have them work in these cribs. But, you know, for the most part, women in general were taking care of these women. You know, men, or, you know, the fathers of their households didn't waste money on women's education because it wasn't necessary. Women were not thinking creatures. They were property. And so a lot of these high-end brothels, you know, and the Everly Club there in Chicago was no exception to the rule. They classically trained them in, you know, piano. They were, you know, opera singers. They could read, write, sew, take care of themselves, which, you know, is not something that a lot of women could do because you just didn't waste education on women. So a lot of these madams were, you know, very intelligent, astute business owners. They absolutely knew how to pull the right strings and get what they needed.
All right, so you have events. I know, like, Women's History Month is kind of coming to a close, and that's why we wanted to get you on during this time. But yeah, you have events, you have things where people can come in and kind of learn about this. Is this something that all brothel museums have? This doesn't seem. It seems unique that you're using, like, a brothel museum to kind of embrace women's history.
Yeah, I mean, to, like, you know, I think you guys were talking about this earlier, but, like, sex work is still work. You know, there's still people that are out there in the daily grind, right? And there are some countries that have legalized it. They have benefits and workers' comp and, you know, things like that, where New South Wales, I think, was the last one. Well, like I said, you know, and there's only 9 of us, so, you know, we're the one that's down here in Arkansas. And so you have others that are in, well, there's a couple that are in Alaska. You have one in Montana, one in South Dakota, Texas, Colorado, Washington State. And we are all kind of doing the same thing, right? And we do work together, which is an interesting concept that we finally decided, man, we've got to get on the same page because we can't have this history be lost. And yeah, we do celebrate women all the time, right? We demand respect for the women that used to work there. They were people first. You know, whether they chose to be there or it was circumstances that drove them, at the end of the day, they were trying to take care of themselves and their families in the only way that they could. You couldn't just go get a job at McDonald's back then, right? So we do celebrate women all the time. And even when we're not talking about sex work, we do a paint and sip. We have a lot of partnerships that are in our community. So we partner with the Regional Art Museum, which is our local art museum. And they come down and they actually do a paint and sip where we talk about the Radium Girls. And, you know, again, very dangerous factory work, right? Those are the kind of jobs that women who weren't in sex work might have had to look forward to. But they accused those women of having syphilis. And it wasn't just because their faces were rotting off. It was, you know, because they had a lot of money. They actually paid them very well at the radium factory.
Yikes.
So, yeah, so we talked about that because it's important. Factory work was very dangerous. So, and oftentimes, you know, they put women and children in the same sort of positions because they had small hands and they were more frail and they could fit them into those dangerous spots where, I don't know, maybe something in the machinery stuck or something. So they put them in really rough positions.
That seems to me, that is absolutely terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, have you been involved in this for a long time? How'd you get started? I mean, is this like a thing you've been dealing with forever, or?
No, I've actually been at Miss Laura's for about 3.5 years. I've managed to completely flip it on its head. It was a very instead of its back. No, I'm just kidding. But it was a very like elbow jab, come on into the saloon and have a good time kind of situation before I got there. And it was really important to me that we really did a lot of that PhD level research to really make sure that we were telling people the truth. And as it turns out, they weren't telling the truth. And so we do now. And we talk a lot about the other brothels across the United States because there isn't a lot of history, for us to find, although it's probably just hiding in someone's basement. But, we're in the Bible Belt too. And so the reality is our house was open until 1948. And so someone's grandmother, could have been working there. We're in a town where there's a lot of old money, a lot of long family lineages, and they absolutely don't want that information to come out. And we would never want to do that, but at the end of the day, it's a very real possibility that somebody's granny was working at the brothel,
Oh, man. You know what? That would be, I tell you what, that would be a fun Christmas story. Right?
And so you don't put anybody's names out then, right?
Yeah, you're not, there's nothing, you don't have do you have a list of the women that work there or like,
oh,
so they
Yep,
could see
sure
that
do.
they could see that it was somebody's grandma. I mean, it's not like
They
they're hiding it.
Yeah, it's really irregular for women to use their real names when they're working. And it was really an odyssey at the time for us to have any photos of those women. I think Storyville, which was in New Orleans, largest red light district that's ever existed, they actually had a photographer there. His name was E.J. Bullock, and he was one of the very few photographers that actually managed to get photos of sex workers. They just didn't trust people, which, why would you? But he actually had some physical ailments that made them trust him a little bit more. But he got some really great photos of the sex workers in Storyville. So it's pretty rare for us to have photos. But I have to tell you guys this funny story. We had this woman come in one time. She was probably in her 80s. And we have a room that has some photos. We do have some photos of our women that work down there. But she came in and she was like, it's fascinating you guys have these, and I, who knows, maybe my husband was one of the ones that came in here, because I'm telling you, we had 8 kids and I wasn't about to have any more. I used to tell him to come down here, so I don't know.
That's funny.
That's great.
Get out of his system, right? Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
Okay,
right.
so
Yeah.
I mean, as empowering as you kind of make it, there's got to be a seedier side, and I'm guessing that there was violence, there was disease, there were things that were going on in these things that no matter how high end it was, that there were some bad parts to this. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so our house, so our district was regulated from 1907 to 1924, which meant regular healthcare. It meant licensing. It meant, actually having a little bit of support from the local law enforcement. It meant a few different things. It also relegated the women to an area where they couldn't be seen in town and things like that. Now, that being said, disease is always going to be the biggest thing, right? And pregnancy, right, just a byproduct of the job in general. And so...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't even think of that.
So there's the venereal disease is a big deal. We didn't have antibiotics really on the open market until right around World War II, that the average layman could get their hands on antibiotics. And so they were doing really terrible things like using mercury and arsenic to treat things like syphilis. which a lot of people suffered from. And so, yeah, yeah, exactly. So they definitely were doing what they could with what they had, but a lot of women, went with untreated venereal disease, and when you go for a long time like that, it actually makes you sterile. So I don't think many of them were super upset about that part, but your body at the time is really just kind of fighting those things off, or you didn't, and you succumb to it. But abuse from the men in their lives really is happening more so in the lower end houses, because there's a hierarchy, right? You have like cribs, mid-level, high end, you have parlor houses, you have cottages, you have independent contractors, as it were, which are kind of what we have today. Your women who are street walking is what they call it, but you kind of have all of that, and those people in those lower end structures are really the ones that are suffering more from the violence. Sometimes these women would get into a house and then also have a pimp that was, taking all their money, just like they do now. It's been a thing forever and ever, and so that violence they were probably looking at. Most high-end houses actually had bouncers, so it wasn't like you didn't have somebody on call all the time.
Oh wow! So I mean, I didn't realize that there were so many different levels. Like I mean, we always see we've seen a million westerns, right?
Yeah, look at Unforgiven. That was actually structured around the whole plot of that movie was structured around a brothel where one of the night girls got her face cut.
Got her face cut.
That set up the whole chain of events in that movie.
Wow. So was there a lot of movement? Like, were there girls that started at lower levels and kind of worked their way up and actually made some money? Because I'm trying to find that positivity there.
Yeah, absolutely. So oftentimes you're starting at the top, right? So you're young, you're beautiful, you don't have a bunch of kids, to take care of or whatever the case might be. So you start out working in a parlor house. And then the degradation happens from there. There's lots and lots of stories about women who, they're only in it for a short time, because if you can earn $5,000, that's retirement money right there. It's like, I don't know, it's really not the end of the world, I guess, if you're only doing it for a short time. So one of my favorite stories actually comes out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. The madam's name was Pauline Tabor, and she ran a brothel there for 38 years, which is the same amount of time that our second madam ran our house, was for 38 years. And she had a gal that came to work for her over the summer because she didn't have enough money to finish paying for college. And so she worked over the summer. She had enough money to finish paying for college. She became a teacher. So there's lots and lots of stories that are like that. I just needed enough money to go here. I just needed enough money to go there. But there's not a lot of human trafficking that's happening during this time like we see now, right? It's definitely a much more prevalent thing that's happening today. Coastal cities really is where that stuff is happening back then. So you have Angel Island and Ellis Island. So places like New York and San Francisco, it's pretty rough, but in sort of these inner nation cities, it's really not something they're seeing. Now that being said, our definition of human trafficking today, this is absolutely what this is, but they would trade them like baseball players on a baseball team. They'd be like, well, I was in St. Louis and Jenny was a great earner. I'm going to call for her to come down here. And they would trade women, and it just kind of, yeah. When you worked for a madam, it was kind of a little bit of a control thing, right? Like going back to buying them their own dress, but she would
I like the connection.
she would kind of pull you in, and she would get your she would get you in debt basically to her by having you purchase the clothing that she wanted you to wear, getting you into her hairdresser, the makeup, whatever the case might have been. You're going to do these piano lessons, you're going to do these things. So in the event that maybe these women might have had a regular client or whatever that might have wanted to marry them, they would have had to have paid off her debt. in order to do so. And so it worked the same way with the madam. So if they were trying to pull somebody down from Chicago into Fort Smith, Arkansas, they had to pay the debt to that madam first. So it was an investment for them. So it, like I said, in the way that we think of human trafficking today, that's absolutely what that was. They just didn't see it back then.
Man, that, you know what? That seems so crazy to me that you would have to. I mean, I guess I've never really done like a history of it to kind of see that, that kind of concept. All right, so I'm going to ask you this: in the bio you sent over, you said a few years ago you probably wouldn't have considered yourself a feminist, but now you would say that you are a radical feminist. Now, go with me on this and let me finish this thought.
Oh, no.
I would argue there's no such thing as a radical feminist because advocating that all human beings have equal rights is the least radical thing that you can say. So, I mean, does that make sense? I mean, if you said horses should vote, that seems crazy. But when you're arguing that everyone should just be equal, it's such an unradical thing that it I don't know. It just seems incredibly basic to me.
Well, to you and I who are, absolutely on that same page, there's just a lot of people who aren't, right? And so the same things in our history that made it to where women had to make choices like this. And, obviously we have women making these choices now too, but, these women couldn't go get a job at McDonald's, like I said before. So, they didn't have the same rights that we have today. And so thinking back about those things, our women in our country, our rights are headed right back to the toilet where these women came from. And so, really continuing to push that is super important. And so we do, unfortunately, live in a world where people still have those same opinions about women being property, about women needing to be controlled and things like that. So, and that was the state of our nation at this time. Women, you could get in more trouble for beating your horse to death than you could for beating your wife to death. It's really unfortunate.
Such a sad statement.
As you probably know, the Taliban in Afghanistan, they just passed a law. Obviously, they're insane religious mullahs there. They just passed a law where it's okay to beat your wife as long, and I'm not joking about this, it's okay to beat your wife as long as you don't make her bleed or actually cause her to bleed. So that they just came out with that. That's in addition to no education and whatever 13th century
all the repressive laws
beliefs they believe in. So that's a real thing that's going on right now today in 2026.
So when people are coming to the museum, I mean, and you're doing your things, especially during Women's History Month and the other things you have, I mean, the concept is you're kind of empowering people to understand that it's important to understand how important. I'm saying how important it is to have women's rights, but it seems like such an insane thing to even say. But it's awesome that you're kind of promoting that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we celebrate women every day, and so when we get these captive audiences for things like Women's History Month, it's really important because we can take like a fun little activity, right, and we can talk about the history of something. Like we had a candle rolling workshop with one of our local downtown businesses, and she talked a lot about how making candles used to be women's work until it became something that could make money, and then men took it away.
Right.
Men can only earn the money, but another thing these women really did is they broke barriers for a lot of things. They owned property in a time when it really was not common for women to own property, not just land, but houses as well. They had their own bank accounts. They provided for themselves, which was it was such a bizarre concept, right? So, yeah.
So threatening to men.
Crazy third world country laws, that's what we're looking at going back to, because that's where we came from.
Okay, so
and it's hard to think about that. So
how did all this end? Because you said that in 1948 was when that brothel closed down, and it looked like when I was doing some research that was about the time they all kind of did. What changed?
I think that the necessity changed a little bit. Right in the 20s, we got a little more loosey-goosey, and people became a little bit more tolerant of women having voices and showing their kneecaps and crazy things like that. And so
Insane.
it was acceptable now to get divorces and, you know, stuff like that, where women didn't have to be miserable all the time. And so I think a lot of that changed. And, you know, there are places, like, we actually still had active brothels in Fort Smith into the 80s. They were just operating more in hotel situations, which is the case now. A lot of times they'll utilize those, like, pay-by-the-hour hotels.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole thing. So, and I mean, even in like in Butte, Montana, and in Alaska and South Dakota, you know, some of those were operating into 1982, and there was like a federal sweep that ran across the nation, and they started closing these places down for good. But you know, we had someone living in our house until 1962, and then he passed away, and it just sort of became a lot of other things after that. It was a restaurant for a while. You know, and then our city visitor center picked it up, and here we are. Not the visitor center anymore.
What a transformation.
You know, I noticed all those locations you mentioned are kind of like hard scrabble out in the boonies type places. And I was actually thinking of Willard, North Dakota as a recent example with the fracking, where that became like a boom town, you know, almost like the gold rush, where, like you said, the men came out because they were high-paying jobs that attracted them, and then the women came, even though we're in the 21st century now, but that whole other element came, you know, maybe not for the same reasons you alluded to, but yeah, so Willard, North Dakota is the new example of what you were mentioning in terms of Alaska, South Dakota, or parts of Texas, which seem like remote, kind of like, not off-the-grid places, but places where it's like a boom town because it attracts a certain people really quickly for, you know, resources, and it's an opportunity for them, and that attracts that other element as well. So I saw that pattern there.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. I know Western sex work looks very different than it does in the East, which is kind of an interesting thing. So, like, you know, on the media where you see it, movies and things like that, like, what is that, Deadwood? You know, if you've watched Deadwood.
Oh, yes.
That's a really good, a really great show, very historically accurate, and it is a great example of what you would have seen in the West. Now you get to Colorado and to Sacramento, things look a little bit different, and they look a little more like they do in the East. And I think it's because the madams in the East were trying to go west, you know, with the rest of westward expansion, and they were kind of trying to bring a little bit of class to those places, and have these higher end houses like this. But for the most part, we see that the most in Hollywood, that Western saloon style is something that is there. But I can tell you that we have a 2-story Victorian mansion that our women worked in, and it's a huge house, and it's beautiful. Not so much on the outside right now, but on the inside, you know, things are just set to give us an idea. Yeah, the outside is falling apart, man.
Yeah,
Probably should be declared a historical landmark, it sounds like, hopefully.
And you know what?
It is a historical landmark.
And so bring that up. So a couple of things. I saw some interesting stuff in your gift shop. Okay.
Yes.
The T-shirts and the coffee mugs. This is my favorite one.
I want a mug.
On the coffee mug, and I'm getting one of these. It says, "It's not a whorehouse, it's a whore home." I swear to God,
That's the best.
I laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, I have to have that coffee mug. Yeah.
Well, just wait till I tell you about the new keychains we just got.
I want a keychain.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and I don't know if this is new, but I saw this, the chlamydia keychains.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will actually have gonorrhea and syphilis as well, so you can give it to all your friends.
So it is literally a keychain with chlamydia on it, and I have to ask, how many are you selling, and who is buying these things?
So we just got them in like Friday, and so we actually get them from a company called Giant Microbes. They're a fantastic company. They do education through little plushies, and so we have the big plushies in our case. It gives us like air quotes fun way to talk about, you know, the terrible diseases that these women were looking at. But
I'm laughing at chlamydia.
So it's great. I mean, like I said, it's one of those things that you want to give all your friends syphilis, and they don't even need antibiotics this time.
That's good.
It was. I tell you, that was the first thing I thought of. But I mean, people. I mean, is it like, I don't know who's walking in and buying these? Is it old guys, old women, young people. I mean, who's walking around with a chlamydia keychain?
Well, I mean, it's a dark humor thing, you know.
But I mean, you walk into you go out with your friends, right? You put your phone on the bar, you put your keys on the bar, and there is literally,
chlamydia.
I'm going to say what? It's an inch round, and it's like this is actually as big as chlamydia is, and it's a picture of chlamydia, and I'm thinking, who wants to see that?
Well, who would even know what it is?
Right.
If you're showing an actual strain of chlamydia, I mean, unless you're like a virologist or something, you wouldn't even know what you're looking at.
Conversation starter.
Okay, was this your idea? Is what I really want to know.
It was, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so you're in your room with a whole bunch of people because I love doing this. Let's go in the Wayback Machine a little bit. You're in the room with a whole bunch of people, and it's like, oh, a coffee mug, oh, whorehouse, whore home. It's like, oh, that's genius. I love that. And then you come up with the chlamydia keychain. I mean, do people actually, like, the people in the room go, Angel?
No, never. They love it. We are all the same exact kind of people, which is what makes it so wonderful. We just got new candles as well that are on there that we ended up branding with things like we actually did an interview with a sex worker in Reno, and this was her idea, but we named one Only Ferns instead of OnlyFans. And then we've got like Safe Word and This Cost Extra and Aftercare and Booked and Busy. So those are our new candles, but we just kind of try to like give everything a fun spin because, you know, when the 80-year-old at the gift shop buys the chlamydia keychain, it becomes less weird because it happens.
I can't see how okay, so I'm going through. I thought I went through the whole thing, and I guess I missed some of this. Here you got one that I know my sister and I would absolutely buy if we ran out. The lip balm, Merry Widow's lip balm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah.
Pina Colada. Do you know what a Three Merry Widows is?
No.
So they were the predecessor to what we know as rubbers today. They were actually the very first.
There you go.
Yes. And wait till I tell you this. Your mind is going to be blown. So prophylactic and actual family planning was illegal until 1963. You could not do family planning. There was no birth control. So you had to like make some things up. And so these were marketed as disease prevention. They were called Three Merry Widows. There were 3 reusable condoms in this little metal tin.
Okay.
Yeah, reusable. So they were called Three Merry Widows. So we had to have some lip balms that looked like the Merry Widows came.
That's amazing.
I
That's
just threw out my chapstick. Just so you know,
That's
I
fascinating.
threw it out, and I will never use it again. Yeah, that is. Oh wow. Okay, and then one of the things that you guys did, one of the things that they did at the brothel, and I didn't realize this because I'm looking at it now, is they use tokens instead of money to keep the theft down.
Yeah, absolutely. They did that in a lot of brothels.
Smart.
One of the most, detailed accounts that I've seen of that was actually in Salida, Colorado, and they had a little drawer that they would actually screw into a nightstand. And the madam would come around and she would unlock the thing at the end of every night. She would pull the tokens out and she would pay the women. But yeah, they had to come in and they had to meet with the madam. If she figured out that you weren't going to be a problem, then she would sell you a token. You could spend all the money on liquor and gambling that you wanted to. Most of the time they serve champagne, but you could stay downstairs as long as you wanted to. But you had to have that token to pay the women to go upstairs.
Oh,
wow.
It's smart. It's like trading in money for casino chips because it only has value at that particular brothel. So if you try to leave with it doesn't do you any good. So that's a great idea.
Wow, that is genius.
That's
okay,
right, yeah.
So I know you guys had a funding issue last year. I was watching some videos of you having to sit in front of the Fort Smith folks trying to get some money and stuff. So let's say people can't make it out to Fort Smith, Arkansas. Like maybe they're driving through, but they can't make it there. And they think this is pretty cool and they want to support you. Is there a way that they can do online donations or help you guys out with just something to kind of keep this history thing going?
Yeah, right now we are owned and operated by the city of Fort Smith. And we are currently creating a nonprofit, 501c3, that we've just filed the application. So it'll be just a little while. Any donations that we receive right now go to offset the city general fund. As a nonprofit, they go farther and last longer, of course. And so I would just urge people to follow us on social media. We'll be making those announcements kind of as things roll out. But yes, they can make online donations all they want. They can give us a call. They can sponsor events. They can do all kinds of things, whatever it is that they might want to do. We are, I think our operating budget is right around $260,000 a year. That's with, salaries and everything, all the stuff. So if you know any wealthy people that just want to bankroll the operation, we can certainly set them up with something to spend money on. So.
I'm sure. See, and I'm busy trying to get sponsors for the show, but yeah, I mean, just buy 1,000 keychains and hand them out to your friends because that would be the.
That's right.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, to be honest with you, go to the gift shop, go to Miss Laura's Brothel Museum, and just buy a couple of things off the gift shop. These things are absolutely amazing. The stuff I'm looking at, it is absolutely awesome. I can't get over it. Angel, thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate it. You know what? If we're down in Arkansas when we're taking road trips.
Oh, and by the way, I just saw. Looks like it's located right on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border. I wasn't sure where that was, so I had to Google it. Yeah, Oklahoma-Arkansas border.
Yeah, we are extremely geographically challenged here. So I know
definitely idiots.
I didn't even know that at Oklahoma and Arkansas bordered each other. So that's how
yes,
bad
they do.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
CPS.
Yeah, the only thing that separates us is the river.
Yeah, Cherokee Nation due north.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
It is awesome. I love learning about new things, and again, taking something that seemed kind of like when we talked about on the phone, you've just taken something that seems like kind of a negative thing, and you really just turned into something that's just it's just really cool.
And I appreciate the deep dive. Yeah, that was really fascinating.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, anytime. You guys holler if you're ever down here.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much,
Angel. Thank you. Take care.
Be
okay?
well.
You too.
Oh man,
No, you know what I like what you touched upon was that
she was great.
No, you know what I like what you touched upon. She actually articulated it really well. She goes, women back then, when you think about their lack of social standing in the world, we're talking about the 1800s, early 1900s, where they're not even like people, right? They're like it's like the Dred Scott decision.
They're property.
Almost. Yeah. So they monetized the one thing they had. And I heard her use that term, which was themselves.
Things they carry with them all the
And
time.
they preyed upon the lust of men, which is obviously an enduring thing, and they exploited that weakness. It's
pretty brilliant.
And they
it is.
Yeah. So they took what they
And why just let the men take all the money of that?
Yeah.
Do your own.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
So
That's
like she said,
perfect.
They played the hand they were dealt.
Yeah.
And they played it perfectly.
Yeah,
based on the circumstances. And so so kudos to them.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing. Like I said, a couple weeks ago we talked, and she was kind of feeling me out because when you have a show called The Real Three Idiots, right?
Yes.
You're always. I mean, several people.
Yeah.
Are call and they're just like, oh man, I don't want you ripping.
Well,
on
you want to
me
get punked on.
Right,
punked. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I'm like, no. And then she starts telling me everything that she talked about here. And I was like, I go, you and this is the thing I said, like multiple times. I'm like, you have taken something that is a negative thing, right? I mean, sex work.
I wouldn't say it's negative. It's just it's misunderstood.
I think it's got a negative connotation.
It's got a negative.
To it,
it's
sure.
definitely got a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And then she goes through like we talked right beginning of Women's History Month. And if you get on their website, you can see all the things that they have going on, 2-3 things a week, right? Yeah. Where people are coming in to talk and, talking about this and they're talking about that. And some things are, history based and some things are, now based, right?
Yeah.
Like where and you're just like that. And that was her thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why she started doing this.
But here's my question. Okay, brothel, negative connotations. Everybody poo-poos it. I guarantee you. Let's just say hypothetically, you open a brothel in the middle of Park Ridge right now. Wouldn't that not be the highest grossing, money making venture? I mean, with the line, I'm talking about Disney World waiting in line for 2-hour lines around the block for something that
it depends if everybody could see you entering and knew what it was.
Well, you have to go through the back door. But the point is, would that not be the highest grossing business?
Yeah.
Would that be going out of business anytime soon? The answer is, of course not. So let's stop pretending to be hypocrites.
I mean, here. So as it stands right now, 86 countries have legal or decriminalized brothels.
Well, I think Amsterdam. She mentioned Amsterdam, the red light district. I'm not sure if that's like a brothel per se, but it's there's women. I think there's women
and
in the
she said
windows.
Germany, I think.
Yeah, there's women in the windows,
yeah.
like they're mannequins, and they're showing off their wares, and that's Amsterdam, and that's right there in the open. So I think it's all legal. I don't think it's a brothel per se, but it's all sex work is legal.
Well, like I said, I mean, there's still a lot, right? I mean, even the countries that are kind of like over the top, kind of anti everything. But and this is the funny one, France, and this is just an example. And there's other countries, but France, Sweden, and Ireland. And this is what is really weird. They've made selling sex legal, but it's illegal to buy sex.
Well, how does that work?
That
doesn't make sense business-wise.
I have no idea, but I think you can be a sex worker, right? Mm-hmm. And nobody's going to mess with you. And until somebody comes up and, I mean, if they
how
want
do
to
you
even
be
bother,
a sex worker if there's no one to be sex worker with?
It is. Listen, that's what I tried to wrap my head around it. It's literally one of those things where it's kind of that bullshit
It's just
thing.
a workaround. It's a workaround.
We're gonna have prostitutes. We're just.
We're going to call them something different. Yeah. So, for example, in Thailand, I think this is real. You can Google this. But I guess, obviously the massage parlors in Thailand or just whatever, Southeast Asia, obviously they're known for the happy ending, which is, for those who don't know, it's...
I can't believe he went this far without saying happy ending. I was honestly
held
going to
it
stop
together.
him. I was honestly going to stop him if he tried.
Yeah, it's just like giving a massage and then just jerking the guy off till he comes. Okay, we all know what
Ted,
it is. Some people don't know what that is. Maybe in Albania they don't know what a happy ending
Ted,
is.
could you
I don't know.
explain?
I just did. So the point is they changed the laws. So they changed the law in Thailand, I believe, in parts of Thailand where it's like the women cannot use their hand to finish a guy off. So guess what? They were using their ankles and wrists to do the same job.
We haven't heard that before, Ted.
Yeah.
It
was a workaround. So they're not giving sex; they're selling sex, quote unquote.
So I'm not buying sex.
Yeah,
they're selling sex. Yeah. I mean it's
a classic workaround.
It's just a workaround. Yeah.
And so I did a little bit of research for America, right? 15% of the male population has visited a prostitute. So as you look around,
that's a lot.
Every 10 guys that you see, better than one of them has been to a prostitute. 66% of people who have visited men who visit a prostitute are married. And the average age of the man who has visited a prostitute is, I'll let you guess,
45.
48.
49. Wow, you guys are... I assumed it was much lower. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
That's right about when men get to the age where they're not that attractive to women, I think, and so they have to go...
Midlife crisis stuff. It's midlife crisis stuff.
Ugly men?
No, not really. I mean, there's,
They become paunchy, maybe, or,
Are you... I feel like you're shitbagging men right now.
Well, you have to understand that. see, this is what the female.
It is Women's History
This
Month.
is what female dating coaches don't understand about men. See, what their blind spot is, they don't understand that men as a population are generally ignored and are starved for affection. Because women, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I'll tell you what. I'm going to start. I'll do a whole new segment. I'm going to do Ted's dating tips. Forget Ted's tips. Ted's dating tips. Right. I'll get to that later.
Listen to me. Everyone who's listening to this, that is never going to
and it's free.
happen.
You're welcome.
Will never happen. Listen, I will shut this whole thing down every time you say Ted's dating tips.
Okay.
Whoop.
I was
and
joking.
It goes right off.
I was joking.
Oh my God. I
don't think you were, but okay.
Yeah,
we'll go with that.
At no point is Ted's never joking. Yeah. But the only good part about this is he's not going to remember for next week that he said that.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the
Remember, I'm just not going to care.
I'm going to go
Move on to bigger and better things.
100% that you're not going to remember. Okay. I want to get this out. I know you guys are on the edge of your seat because the tomato of the year was named. Yes. The tomato.
I didn't know there was a tomato of the year, but I'm very intrigued.
There's different types of tomatoes.
Okay. Well,
lots of different types of
I can do
tomatoes.
this. There's what was the name of the place? Tomato.
Is it a big tomato or a small tomato?
Oh no! Before I get to that, hold on.
Okay.
The people that name it tomato something. I'm going to have them on the show.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'm already talking to them. We're trying to work it out. It's one of those things where I send stuff and they respond, and then I don't hear back from them.
Yeah,
so
you got to follow up and.
It is I don't know, man. There's like 1 billion tomatoes. You'll never get this.
so many.
Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? Answer me now.
Yes, it's a fruit. because it's
Good
got
job.
seeds inside.
Good job.
Yeah, but it tastes like. I mean, we all know.
I
it's
was
a
going to stop
vegetable.
listening. What do you have to say?
Okay,
You said
so
vegetable.
tomato of the year for 2025.
Okay.
Okay, was named the Sartre Rolliers.
I don't know what those words mean.
Of course you don't.
Yeah.
It is a yellow beefsteak tomato, so it's a larger
Okay.
one. You ready
Okay.
for this? It has a sweet flavor like pineapple.
That does sound good.
I know. I like.
That sounds great.
I'm the only one in my family that can even tolerate pineapple. I don't think anybody in my family would
I love
even
pineapple.
look at
Pineapple on pizza.
Of course you do.
Pineapple
Of
on
great.
pizza.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Great.
I love, dude. One of my favorite things is pineapple and giardiniera on a pizza.
Yeah. Any kind of like
That is good.
pineapple salsa.
Yes,
That is good.
Love it.
Underrated.
Yes. It was a tomato that was created in 2012, where they crossed a yellow cherry tomato and I've never heard of this either, creamy yellow beefsteak white wonder.
I need to go to this tomato-thon or whatever it is.
I can't.
Are they available? Is it available here?
How the hell should I know, Ted? Ted, most of the words I just said, I don't even know what they mean.
Maybe it's some kind of a special market or something, like a farmer's market where there's someone.
I mean, like the
market, yeah.
cheese thing, right?
Selling their
where there
wares.
was all the different cheeses. Yeah, but so I'm trying to follow up. I know nothing about tomatoes, but I figure we grow tomatoes, right? That's one of those things you
We
grow
do,
in your yard.
yes.
And they're fantastic, right? Your yard tomatoes are so much better than anything you can buy.
Come November, it's like the saddest thing when all of a sudden you have your last little tomato that you got from the garden.
Right. And it's kind of orangey. It's not quite red, but you eat it
But
anyway.
it's still better than what you get in the store.
I actually saw a scented candle, and it was a tomato patch.
Yes.
It was a tomato patch or garden patch scented candle.
I
And
think
it
it's
smelled
like
a
tomato leaf.
It was really good.
A tomato plant.
Ooh, it
yeah,
was just,
tomato
but
plant.
it was a candle.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good
tomato
stuff.
plant candle.
Yeah. I gotta. So.
I mean, we all pick the tomatoes and then we're just like, that smells good.
Man. Oh man. And you just I mean it's just one of those things. And I didn't realize whatever this thing is, it's not tomato-thon because that's ridiculous. That's a
Fest?
marathon of tomatoes.
Right.
But it's whatever this thing is, and they name a yearly tomato, and it is very tomato centric. Yeah. So I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks, but I'll get back on it. It's so difficult to do all this stuff when you're kind of getting all of it together. So yeah,
You're working hard.
You know what? I'm tooting my own horn. I am. Let me do this before we go on. If you enjoyed the episode, if you learned something today, and if you didn't, you're not really paying attention. Please consider following the show, subscribing to your favorite podcast platform, or leaving a 5-star review. This helps the podcast more than I can say. This allows us to reach more and more people, and it would mean the world to us. You can visit us at voteforted.com. That's FORE. Not for much longer.
Right.
Nobody has a website.
Going away.
Or just Google The Real 3 Idiots Podcast.
I don't know how you couldn't have learned something today, because I doubt that there's very many people who have extensive knowledge in brothels.
I didn't know there were degrees of brothels. There was like,
I know
she
me
talked
either.
about cottages. She talked about the
cribs.
Cribs. I
Yeah,
never heard-
cribs
heard of
run
that,
by
yeah.
men.
Okay, yeah.
Up to the parlor home was the high one.
Parlor home. Yeah, I didn't know there were.
Yeah, and I figured you would start low, like minor league
She
baseball.
said it starts high.
But
Yeah,
it
but
makes
that makes-
sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
as
because
you-
you're young, and then you kind of get used up and dried up, and then you go down the food chain. Yeah, no, I hate to say it. Well, here, let's just say
again, same reason why the men who are like 49 are going to the.
I saw a movie.
Yeah.
I think it was a Meryl Streep movie, and I can't remember
She
what
was
it
a
was.
hooker?
No, but it was actually a very interesting line. I don't know why I remember this, but she said basically like her husband. She found out her husband. She was like in her 50s. So her husband was having an affair with like a 30-year-old woman. And she goes, and someone and her friend said, "Baby, you can't compete with a younger woman, no matter what you do. You just can't compete." You know, it was sad actually, but no matter how much makeup she did or how much she dressed up, you just can't. You can't beat the natural man. So, what are you gonna do?
Wow.
And
Ted just takes us down to the turlet.
That hit hard.
Okay.
It was okay. All right, you know what, Ted? I will leave it to you to take the wonder out of Wonder Bread.
Why me?
Okay, let's final thought it. Ted, I'll make you go first.
Okay, I don't know any Scott's secrets or sentiments, so I'm gonna
Scott Standard. The Scott Standard.
Oh, it's changed again. Okay,
Standard.
yeah.
The Scott.
Okay.
No, it's what it is. The Scott Standard. But that's his thing.
Yeah.
This is just final thought.
Oh, this is for me. Okay, so my final thought is based on our guest here. So, you know the book Freakonomics.
Yes.
Okay, so there was actually a passage in the book that talked about a woman who was a working girl. She was actually like a independent call girl, and she was charging X amount for her johns. So she doubled her price, and she was thinking my business is going to go down because I doubled my price. Her business actually doubled. She goes, I could have been charging this the whole time. Interesting.
Okay.
Final
you
thought.
know what's funny? I've read that book and I just don't remember that part.
remember that part.
But
Okay.
I believe that it probably happened. And it's probably something I should reread. All right, Jackie, last thought.
Mine is on chlamydia.
I'm buying you a keychain for your birthday, just so you know.
When we were in college, that's what the student center always gave out. No matter what you went for a sore throat, you got a
They
pamphlet.
gave you chlamydia?
It's called Chlamydia is Not a Flower. And so
Was that a chrysanthemum? That's is that chrysanthemum?
Steve's going to laugh about this. So in his apartment, his friends would just take that pamphlet and hide it in each other's like drawers and stuff. And so, like chlamydia is not a flower is just like, I guess, the mantra of college. I don't know.
Yeah.
We used to want herpes. I mean, chlamydia is just a bacteria, right? You take the 7-day Z-Pack, you're good. But it's just that other stuff where the herpes doesn't go away, right? It's because it's a virus, right?
Yeah.
You don't want the
That
virus.
forever.
You want the bacteria STD, not the virus STD.
No, I remember.
Not that you have a choice.
I remember my buddies. My buddies are like, "Oh man, hold on, I got to go upstairs. I gotta take this. I gotta take it for 7 days."
Yeah.
And they'd run up there like, "Oh man, I almost forgot."
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
remember.
chlamydia is not a flower. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And it's not a virus either, so that's good.
And I know where you can get a keychain to remind you of that. Yeah, I know that.
Get me
okay.
that keychain.
Here's my final thought. There's good news if you live in Wyoming or Montana and you have a horse-drawn wagon and you are hungry. You can now go through a McDonald's drive-thru. Last month, a fella in a horse-drawn wagon was refused service at a McDonald's drive-thru. Okay. And that's
Maybe
pretty
he's
messed
just
up.
trying to save the environment.
Well, one guy, and I didn't know this, one guy pretty much owns all of the McDonald's in those two states. I think out of how many there are, I think it was all but like two.
That wasn't right. That guy didn't get served. They should have served him.
Ted, it was a goddamn horse-drawn
It's a
wagon.
vehicle. It's just a human. It's just an animal-powered vehicle.
Okay, and here's what happened. The fellow who owns it apologized to the guy.
Good.
And announced on social media and everywhere else that from here on out, all horse-drawn wagons are welcome to go through the drive-thrus at Wyoming and Montana.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. It's like if I had a McDonald's in an Amish or Mennonite village with most of the people that have horse-drawn carriages, of course, they're welcome to come to my establishment, whether it's indoors or through the drive-thru. That's just common sense.
How about Ted gets a new segment? Ted's business strategies.
Help me pick the right stocks, or my stocks are all getting killed.
Well, the only thing I will say is
Bitcoin
this.
sucks.
I know it's Montana and
Really?
Wyoming, but if you live in a normal state, don't do it.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. I feel like nothing but badness is going to
How
happen.
about golf cart? Can you take your golf cart through the McDonald's drive-thru?
Yeah, if you live in a golf cart community, like say
I'm sure if you live in
Sun
a
City,
golf cart
Arizona, or Florida, yeah, if you take
You're
it
saying
through the
old
drive-thru,
people, Ted. Just say it, old
yeah.
people.
But the point is, it's prevalent in that community. Of course, you should allow it because it's normal out there.
Ted, when it happens in the news, and then someone has to deal with it, we'll know. In fact, you'll be the first to know because we are the news. All right. Before we get out of here, next week we are going to talk with Isaac Eliason. He is our whip guy, custom whip maker, and a whip cracker. The week after that, we'll be talking with Zool Arafin. He is Mr. Godzilla.
I want to hear what he has to say.
I bet you do. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to be talking with Jock Hellblade, who has turned his town, Macomb, Illinois, into a giant monopoly.
I thought that was pretty interesting when you were talking about that.
Dude, that's my new pseudonym, Jock Hellblade. Come on, man. That's not even real, man. Come on.
Oh, what is mine?
That's a good name.
I forgot it was something cool. I forgot about it.
David Tornado. Yeah, that's so. When if I haven't been in Starbucks
Jock
in forever.
Hellblade and David Tornado. Come on, man.
Anywhere where I have to
Come
put my
on,
name. Anywhere I have to put my name from here on out. Your name, sir? David.
No,
David
it wasn't.
Tornado.
It was Tornado, but I thought the first
David
name
Tornado.
was David Tornado. Okay.
I was David Tornado.
I'm with Jennifer Hurricane.
Ted, you'll have to be Jennifer Hurricane. I mean, listen to me. Nobody's going to judge. Okay?
You could be Jenny. Jenny Hurricane.
Jenny from down the
Is
block.
that less
Hurricane?
like a girl's name? I mean, I don't even know where we're going with that. Okay. Jackie, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah,
As
it's
always,
fun.
Thank
it
you,
is
thank
it is
you.
a blast, and hopefully Scott won't be here for a couple. I mean, hopefully he'll be working, and you get to come back more often. I mean, and you know what? We might even have you on even when Scott's here.
Yeah, because I haven't met him yet.
Okay.
Right.
That's weird. She's never met Scott. She doesn't know Scott.
Well, I mean, Scotty's. I mean, it's not anybody that she would have hung out with.
That's true.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Well, you know what? I'll have a party. I'll have like a sports thing going on, and then we'll have Scott come over. We'll have Jackie and Steve come over, and then everybody can meet and throw tomatoes at each other. By the way,
cool.
Tomato of the Year. Yeah.
I can't. What was it called? Scars something.
The tomato?
What was the tomato called?
Shit.
Sart.
Here it is. Sart Rolliers.
Sart. It must be from France.
I mean, it was created. No. I'm pretty sure it was an American guy. Created in 2012. All right. Keep listening, keep enjoying, and we'll see everybody next week.